Good afternoon, all, and welcome. My name is Marjorie Wharton, and I am here to talk to you a little bit for about 15 minutes or so, about a topic that has been coming to me from people that I've been working with, people who've been asking the question. I use this opportunity to share information, to give input, to give feedback about questions that keep coming up as I interact with people, whether it's in my coaching, my training, or in my interactions on social media. As I said, my name is Marjorie Wharton. I am a coach, a trainer, and facilitator. My company is Breakthrough Performance Coaching, and we engage in working with managers to help them become better at achieving results through the people that they lead. We know that an important part of being successful as a manager and a leader is to be able to achieve outcomes through others. And there are times when managers can find that challenging. And so they reach out to people like me who help them to get better at doing it, whether I am working with them as a coach or I am offering a training, whether online or face to face, or through their company, or if they are interacting with my content online. So it is always my pleasure to be able to respond to the questions that come to me in this format, because even though it's coming at me from a few people, I am sometimes of the opinion that it is a concern for a lot more people, because I may hear it in one quarter from one group that I'm working with, and then I'll hear it somewhere else, and maybe it is repeated in a different format. And so the question that I'm looking at today is about discipline when it comes to the manager's role in discipline and the role of HR. So the question specifically is, I was engaging in a discussion with a group of managers, and one of them asked the question in this way: isn't HR responsible for firing or disciplining employees? And so that individual raised the question because they were of the opinion that as one department head in an organization, they alone could not make a decision about whether or not an employee was appropriate for an organization. So fortunately, the HR manager was at that discussion as well, and they were able to outline the process that they prefer to have in that specific organization. But as someone working with a wide cross section of people, I would say to all of you that the immediate answer to that question is no. HR is not the one who is responsible, especially not at the level of making the decision. What HR does is they can help you with the paperwork. But in organizations, the one who is responsible for making the decision about whether or not an employee has been performing at the level that they should be, whether or not they have been engaging with a task, learning and growing, and giving the level of engagement that should be happening, that responsibility always lies with their immediate manager or supervisor. And so it is important for the manager and the supervisor to see it as part of their role to have that always be a part of what they're thinking about. Now, I've made a few notes, so I'll be referencing them as I am going through this. And I want to start off by saying that in any situation, you have to see discipline and you have to see getting to that point as it's not even the starting point. It is a part of a larger process of performance management. And so, performance management from any organization's expectation really is about managing the performance of the individual. So you're not waiting until the person gets to a point where they need to be disciplined in order to give them feedback, in order to interact with them, because you are looking at their performance from the beginning. And when the individual is doing something well, they should be getting feedback to let them know that they are doing it well. I know there are some managers that are concerned sometimes that they may be praising an employee too much. And if you praise the employee, then they slack off and they don't work as hard. And I'll ask you to let go of that concern and worry right now, because the research has shown to us that that is not true in any way. What will often happen is the employee who is praised will often work harder, not less so. The employee who recognizes that their effort is being seen by the person that they report to, by the people who should be paying attention to it, that employee is more likely to try to perform and improve and get better and better. So if you are there and the person is working and you are not giving them any feedback, then they don't know that you care. They don't know that the effort that they're putting out is being seen. They will only know that when you can give them the positive feedback to let them know you've seen it. Now, of course, you are not being asked to lie and say that performance is good when it is not, because feedback means that you can give the person the positive and you can also give them the constructive or negative. You have to let people know if they're not living up to the performance standards. Now, I have worked with several managers who have, as they're going through the programs with me, they will sometimes be concerned that the individual they're giving the feedback to is actually going to resent getting it. And so the manager may be reluctant to say anything to the individual. But I've always asked managers to consider this. When you were coming up in the organization, if you think back now on the managers that you remember the most, how many times are you recalling the individual who was tough on you? How many times are you recalling the one who held you to a higher standard and who did not let you slip? But instead, they asked you to perform at a high level. When you reached it, they let you know, they told you. When you did not, they let you know, they told you. They helped you to improve, and they kept on pushing you so that you would get better and better. And so you have to remember that in order to be effective as a manager, in order to be appreciated by the person you're managing, you do not just have to be nice, because people don't come to work just looking for nice. They're looking for growth. They're looking for engagement. They're looking for opportunities to perform at a high level, to do better, to be engaged and excited about what they're doing. People are more likely to be bored if you're constantly just telling them, yeah, man, you're doing good. And then it turns out that they aren't. So please note that feedback is an important part of the performance management process. In fact, feedback should be given to the person as close as possible to the action. So if a person has done something and they've done it well today, you want to be able to give them that feedback today or tomorrow. You're not looking to store it up and give it to them 3 months down the road. So it is possible for you to have informal feedback meetings. You don't always have to have the ones that are just a part of the performance management process or the performance appraisal process. You can bring the individual in and have a quick 1 or 2 minute discussion with them, maybe 10, 15 minutes discussion to say to them that they have done things right. And so remember too that the feedback must be specific. So you're not just saying that they've done everything right, you're saying what. You're not just going to say to them, I think you're doing a good job. Say what they're doing well. If you see that they are answering the phone well, if you are appreciating the way that they're interacting with the customer, let them know that you are seeing that. Let them know that you are recognizing their ability to do that well. And that is specifically what you're talking about. People are not going to be upset if you say to them, well, the way you dealt with that customer was not the way that you should have. And then you engage in a discussion to understand what happened. And then you move beyond that to explore how you can do it, how they can do it differently the next time around. What people get upset with is when that happens, let's say in January, and the first time you talk to them about it is in June. And then that is so close to the appraisal process that they can do nothing to improve. That is what gets employees upset and annoyed. Remember too that you're focusing on the behavior that you saw and not the person. So you're not going to say, well, you are a rude child, or you're a rude human being, or you're an angry human being. But you may want to say to them that in that instance, the way you spoke to that person showed how you felt, and that is not appropriate. And this is what should be done instead, because this is our standard. You have to be specific, be behavior focused, and do not generalize. Because we many times we want to say things like, well, you always. And anytime you start saying to anyone that they always do something, they can always find the time that they did not. And what then happens is the person's not receiving what you're saying because they are busy defending their position, because you are criticizing them instead of giving them useful feedback. So bear those things in mind as you are giving the feedback, that you must be doing so on a regular basis. And please also note that there's a difference between a casual conversation where you may bring a person in and give them a friendly, sometimes, and a manager said this to me once, that they just say to the person, this is a word to the wise. So if you brought a person in to give them a casual feedback, friendly kind of advice, it is not the same thing as you, as their manager or a manager in an organization, giving them specific guidance on what they have not done well and what they can do differently as they move forward. So the casual conversation, they may not pay the same kind of attention to as the feedback conversation that you are engaging in. So to the full response then to that question of whether or not HR is responsible for the firing or disciplining of employees, the full answer is no. You as a manager, you are responsible for it. You may see it as a difficult discussion that you have to engage in. And I have made a, I'm looking for it and I'm going to click on it any moment now. Here we are. There is a book that offers guidance on what we call difficult or crucial conversations that you can have. And I know that for many people, you don't want to have that kind of conversation because you want to maintain your friendly relationship with staff. And so you feel that if you have to say anything that is negative or engage in the difficult conversation, that you're going to lose that connection. But please know this. If the conversation needs to take place and it is not taking place, the individual is not going to respect you anymore for not doing what needs to be done. So you want to make sure that you are dealing with the situation and not pretending that this issue isn't there. So this book on crucial conversations by these two authors, Kerry Patterson and Joseph Grenny, is an excellent resource to help you design and then conduct those crucial conversations. And one of the key things to remember when you're going into those conversations, you want to prepare beforehand. You're not going in there to be emotional. It is not an opportunity for you to air the problems that you have with this person. But instead, you want to go in with a focus on a positive outcome and creating a win-win situation. You are using it as an opportunity to help this person grow. And if you have that in your mind as the ultimate reason for why you are engaging in these conversations, then your discomfort becomes a little easier to bear. It doesn't go away, but it becomes a little easier to bear. The fact that you are there not to just dump on this person about how they have been behaving or how they generally act, but instead you are feeling that they have the potential to become better and they are not living up to what you see they can do. And so you are working to help them do what they can do. Thank you for this comment, Fazela. You are correct that it is important for managers to remember that they have this as a responsibility and that they have to take charge of it. Thank you for your support in that, because I do recognize that for a lot of people, they are very worried about having to do it as part of their role as managers. And I think a lot of them are worried that they won't do it well they will make the situation worse. And then, as they are making the situation worse, that they are then going to find themselves in a position where they feel overwhelmed by the negativity that's coming from their team. And so, I want to say to you, recognize, accept, it's not an easy role to play, but it is a necessary one. It is one that is part of a manager's responsibility. And if you don't know how to do it, then you need to develop the skills how to do it. If you need HR to support you in doing it, then you can have that discussion with HR. But recognize that in the end, you're the one, as the person's immediate manager or supervisor, who has to have the skills to effectively manage their performance. Your goal, as always, is to help the person to perform at the level that they are capable of. You're helping them to improve, you're helping them to become better. And all of this focus on discipline, on giving feedback on performance, on offering advice for them to do things more efficiently or effectively, fits into that objective that you have, which is to help that person become a better performer at work. On the second part of this discussion that came up, it was from another employee in that session that I was conducting. The person used an example where, as a manager, they were dealing with a supervisor who they did not feel comfortable disciplining because the supervisor was actually going above and beyond the call of duty in other areas. She was not working effectively as a supervisor. She didn't like supervising the people who reported to her, but she was doing an excellent job in other things. And so that led me to have a conversation with them about about understanding the role of a manager and understanding the role of the supervisor. Because as a manager, your job is to ensure that the supervisor is, or part of your job is to ensure that the supervisor is doing her job and undertaking her responsibilities as a supervisor. If you have a supervisor who's not doing that, even though she is going above and beyond the call of duty to do other things, then unfortunately, that person is not performing well in their role. And I say this to any manager because I want you to know that if you have someone reporting to you who is not performing well and you are not doing anything to address it, then understand that who you report to is judging you on that. Because it is possible, if you are finding it difficult to get your employees to perform that the way they should, then somebody else will look at you and work on the impression that you're not doing a good job as a manager. So part of your feedback, part of your performance appraisal, or your advice that you want to give, guidance you want to give to those who report to you, is to help them do their job effectively. So if you have a supervisor who's not supervising well, but they're doing other things, so they may be taking on the role that they had before they became a supervisor instead of supervising others so that they do it well, then you want to help that person get to a point where they're comfortable delegating and letting go of responsibilities that they should no longer have. That is an important part of your role in being effective as a manager. So I wanted to address those two areas because I felt that it is an important thing for us to talk about when it comes to managers taking up responsibility for disciplining, guiding the performance of, and giving feedback to people who are a part of your team. Absolutely. I like this comment for Zayla, so I'm going to share it again. Yes, your team's performance is a reflection on your professional image. And so as a manager, you want to make sure that you are able to help your team members perform at the level that they should. If you find that you have individuals who are not performing at the level that they should, and you are not doing anything to help them improve, then unfortunately, it reflects badly on you as a manager. So please remember that. And again, if you feel that you do not have the skills to do all of these things as a manager, it's okay. Once you've acknowledged it, you can do something about it. So work to address it. You can contact someone like me who works in the field of coaching and training. You can choose to go to an institution. There are several online options that you can take to learn many of these areas online so that you can do it without having to take time away from work. There are options that you can find content. YouTube is an excellent source for videos that deal with this type of material. You can get books that talk about managing more effectively. On and on, there are options out there to help you deal with this. So never assume that because you are not where you need to be in terms of knowledge and management skill, never assume that you have to stay there. You can improve, you can grow, and you can get better. So, as always, as I am wrapping up, I like to give a few updates on what's going on with my company, Breakthrough Performance Coaching, and our upcoming events. And so, upcoming next week, we have on Tuesday, we have our webinar entitled Business, Startup, and Expansion. We were originally charging an attendance fee for this, Barbados $25. However, we have since waived that fee. So if you were interested and you still want to be a part of it, please take advantage. Go to my page, Breakthrough Performance Coaching. Look for the event. The event is entitled Business, Startup and Expansion, and register. Once you register, you will get your acceptance, your Zoom acceptance, the link to attend, and you will be able to join us on Tuesday, 9 a.m. to be a part of that session. It is being facilitated by Richard Blades of Blades and Blades Consultancy. And on Wednesday, I will be having a session entitled Worth and Value, Getting Paid What You Charge. And that will be facilitated by Sonia Lane Gartside and Marcia Cyrus. And they are going to be talking to all of us who are entrepreneurs or independent contractors or people who want to understand if they are pricing their services or their products in the right way. This will give you an opportunity to ask questions of people who deal specifically with negotiation on a wide basis, or this you can address to Marcia to talk about building up the pricing for your product, because you may think that you're charging too much right now, but there may be things that perhaps you're not even considering, and so perhaps you're not charging enough. So I look forward to seeing you next week. If you are able to, please join us for either one of those sessions. That session on Wednesday with Worth and Value will be taking place in the evening. It will be 6:30 until 7:30. No, 7 till 8. Sorry, giving the wrong time. It's taking place on the 30th of June and it runs 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, you go to the page, look for the event, register, and you will get the link to attend. So I hope to see you next week. As always, I do these sessions because I want to be able to offer to people the opportunity to get information from experts. I recognize that there's a lot of information out there, but you don't always have the time to go searching for it yourselves. And so I like to be able to bring it to you so that it's easily accessible, because I believe that in the region, we have a lot of people with a lot of good information, but we're not always taking the time. We sometimes don't even have the time to actually go out and get those people to talk to us in a one-on-one format. And so I have made it a part of the purpose of my business to share information with people so that it is easily and readily accessible. So please enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you at our sessions next week. Take care. Stay safe.